Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays. Each First Wednesday call is uploaded to Gretchen's YouTube channel. So keep that in mind if you want to participate on camera or if you want to keep it in the chat, that's totally fine. In today's call, we're going to be talking about enrollment and we're going to have a demo so you can actually see how Gretchen actually holds an enrollment call. Obviously, it's going to be a modified version of it for the time's sake, but it's very powerful and it will help you visually see how an enrollment call can actually go. So, and just a quick thing, First Wednesdays are for any coach who wants to build their coaching business. So for any of these First Wednesdays, you are more than welcome to invite other coaches from either our Coaching for Coaches community or outside the community. We love any coach friend that wants to join these calls. We also have members of Gretchen's Stereo to 6 group here to complement their learning throughout their program. So with that, I will hand this over to Gretchen.
All right. Happy February, everybody. I cannot believe that the first month of the new year is already gone. So here we are. It's good to see everyone. Happy to be here with you. And like Christy said, tonight we are going to talk about enrollment calls. And, you know, a lot of you I know from different places. Some of you are from Stairway to 6. Some of you are from a past Stairway to 6. Some of you are from ICF. Some of you are from the Coaching for Coaches group. This particular call each month is really my give back to the coaching community. And it's the way that I like to help coaches be able to ask their questions, learn something, and then take it out into the world. So as with everything, anytime that I teach, I want you to listen for the gem. What can you take action on? What are you learning tonight that you can then go out and practice? Otherwise, this is just more information that, you know, we have, but unless you take action on it, it doesn't change anything. And so whenever you come to a learning, make sure that you take something, a step from whatever it is that I teach you or any other practitioner so that you really can implement it right away. It's the next step to your learning. So with that, tonight, what we're going to talk about is enrollment, you know, and this is something that I very much enjoy speaking about. We are going to talk about best ways to get ready for your enrollment call, what you do on an enrollment call, and what you do after an enrollment call. I'm going to be demoing an enrollment call with Wes. He answered all of the prelim questions that were sent to him. And yes, like Christy said, it'll be a modified version. And sometimes I might even stop him just to do a teaching point with all of you to show you what's going on and the way and the reason why I may or may not say something. As always, very interactive with my coaching and teaching style. Feel like you can jump in except for while I am coaching him, and I will answer all of your questions. So here's a quote that I really like that I find to be so helpful. It says, "Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after having an experience with you becomes your trademark." That's by Danzie. The reason I like this is because so many times the entrepreneurs and professionals that I coach and help them with their businesses are so nervous about, do they have everything in order? How do they know that they're ready to coach? But do I have it all in place? Am I ready to get clients? The answer is yes. You're never more ready than when you do it. And with this too, whether you have the business card or the website or all of your paperwork ready or those sorts of things, matters less than the way that you will leave a person feeling who has been in your presence. I promise that if you have a good connection with somebody, they will care less about your website than they do about the way that they felt in your presence. So as you're starting out on this coaching journey, and many of you are, you know, at the stages where you are thinking about websites, or you have a website and maybe you think it's working or not working, or have you made all of those marketing materials? I'm here to really just level set and say that it matters less than you think. What matters the most is your presence and the way that you're being and who you're being out there in the world with others. So I hope that puts you at ease just a little bit. Now, I'd love to just quickly, you know, have you share for you, what were you hoping to learn tonight about enrollment calls? Just so that if there's specific questions, I can make sure that I cover that. Otherwise, I'm just going to free flow some. But what were you hoping to learn about enrollment calls?
I think for me, you've talked about it a lot, but the whole flow of it, you know, how you really jump into it, how you really, because I think positioning is so critical, listening And I'd really love to see how you do that.
Great, perfect. Okay, so we're really concerned then about the flow. How do we kind of tee it up for the client as well so that they know what's happening within that call?
Right.
Great. Susan.
Yeah, I was also interested in distinctions as we read about in Steve Chandler's book. So the distinction between an enrollment conversation and an actual coaching conversation. Don't know if you'll have time, but if you could.
Great. I will try. I'm going to weave that in some. And for anyone in my Stairway to Six program, if there's a question we don't cover tonight, my guess is we're going to cover it next week when we're all together. For anyone in the Coaching for Coaches community that is not a part of the Stairway to Six program, if there ends up being a question that I didn't answer, put it into the community Facebook group and I will go in there and answer it. So we'll do what we can in an hour. Any other questions on the table that people are wondering that you're hoping I'm going to cover tonight about enrollment calls? Okay, so then let's see what we can do. So here's the thing. Part of the beauty of an enrollment call is that it's like dating. You do not have to commit, neither do they. And let that be a good thing, you know, that we don't want to marry everyone that we've dated, right? Very few people are supposed to be your client. You are looking for chemistry, you are looking for a good connection, and you are looking to have a level of excitement about working with this potential person. Now, with that being said, your excitement cannot be more than their excitement. So while you may think this person really needs coaching, I've got a live one on the hook. If they don't see the value of coaching, it doesn't matter what you see. So that's the very first part. So it's kind of like when we're getting into any relationship, we never want to sell ourselves. People either want it or they don't. They either find the value or they don't. So with an enrollment call, remember the way that you want to show up to this call, aside from in your professional self, is that you're interviewing. You're getting to know them. You're deciding if you even want to put an offer on the table. You won't know until you've had the discussion. So that's the very first part when it comes to this flow. Now, prior to that, what you want to do before your enrollment connection call conversation is this. You want to make sure that you're sending out some preliminary questions, some getting to know you questions. Now, the reason for this is twofold. One, it's a prerequisite to see if this person is willing to follow simple instruction. Are they ready? Can they send you back even 3 sentences? If they are not willing to make the time or the thought process that it takes to send you back those questions, they're probably not ready for coaching. Coaching takes a level of commitment. Coaching, we have to be willing to take the time and we have to be willing to go deep in ourselves. So these questions are things like, you know, in the next 6 months, what would you like to achieve or accomplish? What would excite you about that? What have you already tried? How do you sabotage yourself or get in your own way? So in a sense, they're a little bit generic, but they will tell you the beginning of what you need to know about somebody. So when the person sends these back to you, you really want to read their answers and get into their world as much as possible. So this is part of the prep for a connection call. We want to see how can we serve this client? How can we get into their world? What is their frame of reference? It also really helps them too when you can refer to something that they put in that email. They will feel listened to, they will feel heard, and they will feel like you're prepared. On the heels of that, go look them up on LinkedIn. See if they're there. They might be, they might not be, but the more you know about this person, the better you're going to be as far as your preparation and getting to know them. Now, if a potential client does not respond to the enrollment questions, to these prelim questions, I won't have that connection call with them. So my process is I will send out the questions. After they have answered them, then I will schedule a connection call with them. And the reason for that is many times people who do not answer the questions, they don't actually show up for the call. So we want to see, what are they willing to do? Is this making sense so far? Is everybody tracking? Okay, see all the nods. Any questions here yet or comments? Okay, all right, good deal. How many of you have tried this already with having some prelim questions that you send to your potential clients? Yeah. Okay. And Honor was in the Stairway to Six last year. So she went through this and she was someone who really put it to the test, and she's done so well in her coaching career. I mean, she's really just shining. Okay. So the next thing is the person's going to, get on Zoom with you or on the phone. Now, Susan, to your point of what are we doing on this call? How is it different than what it says in Steve Chandler's book? So here's the deal. In Steve Chandler's book, it talks about 90-minute sessions, right? 90-minute to 2-hour sessions. That was in their version 1 of the book. A lot of times now, the way they teach it, they separate it. And here's what I'm suggesting is that you have this initial call where you're connecting. It's usually anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. It just depends on how that flow of conversation is going. During this call, I don't coach. I ask questions. So it might sound like some of the skills of coaching, but I'm not setting up a proper topic, outcome, and measurement through the ICF guidelines. Instead, I'm reviewing those questions. I'm listening deeper. I'm pulling in threads of a story of what I hear the potential client saying and not saying. I am bringing things back to them through reflective and active listening, and I'm creating a really good sacred space. So at the top of the call, most of the time, what I'll say is, Wes, I'm so glad that we're here. Let me lay it out how today's going to go, because they don't know what they're expecting. They don't know when I'm going to try to sell them. So they're already a little bit, on the defense about when you're going to try to sell me something and that sort of thing. So what you want to say to them is one of 3 things is going to happen. At the end of this call, I'm going to save some time, and we might decide that you want to experience a coaching session with me. That might be a good idea, and it would be something we schedule later. Or you might have some questions about the way I work. And the other thing that might happen is I could send you some resources about what we talked about today. We won't know which one of those things is going to happen until we get there. Sound good? And what it does is it helps the client to take the defense position off. And I let them know what I'm really looking for today is, what do you need and how can I serve? And then at the end of this, if we feel like this is a good fit, we can talk more about that. Any questions there or comments there? Okay, what are you hearing so far?
Hi, Gretchen.
Hi,
I have a
Lily.
question. So once you send out those questions, how long do you usually give to remind? Do you remind them if they haven't answered, or do you just?
So this is a great question. I'm glad that you asked it. It's not one that I had thought about for a minute. So here's the truth. If a potential client does not answer the questions, I don't follow up at all. It's really their readiness, because I won't schedule them until they've answered the questions. So I know that they are not very interested or willing to make the time commitment yet. Their level of readiness isn't there if they haven't answered the questions. Also, I really trust that if they didn't get them, they're going to reach out to me and say, hey, I really wanted to meet with you. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And here's the other piece of that too, Lily, and for everyone, this is something that happens all the time, that we will send something out and they don't send it back. Christy will ask me a lot, do you want me to follow up with so-and-so? I'm like, no, because they're just not ready. And it's not a judgment thing. I'm never like, well, they didn't pass the test. Just for me, it's a level of readiness. And for me, I don't follow up because I know I really believe in perfect timing. When they're ready, they're going to come back. And either I'm the right coach then or I'm not. And both answers are okay. Okay, so we do the prelim questions. Hopefully they send them back. If they do, we go ahead and we set up and we schedule. We're going to get on this potential, on this connection call, and we're just going to do that. We're going to connect. We're going to ask questions. We're going to listen. We're going to have a good presence. And we're really going to hope that we can leave that client, that potential client, feeling connected. That feeling of connection is so important because we walk around the world very disconnected. We don't make conversations in the elevator anymore. In restaurants, nobody's making eye contact if their person goes to the bathroom. Everyone's just on their phone. So the connection call is that connect. Let's see what we can do with this person. So let me show you what this sounds like. And then at the end, I'm going to save time for your questions. So with Wes, we're going to do a quick version of this. Usually I would give it 30 to 40 minutes, just depending on how the conversation is flowing. Now, he and I I'm going to show you what it is, but let me set this up, because typically what happens is at some point I'll say, Wes, it was really nice getting to know you. Here's what I heard. Here's where I'm seeing there might be some opportunity. What questions do you have for me? This is typically where a potential client will ask about pricing. They'll ask about how you can work together. They're going to ask about those things. So I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like. So Wes, put me to the test on it. Ask me questions about pricing and all of that, even if you wouldn't have, because we kind of know each other. Just ask me anyway for the demo, if you don't mind. That would be really helpful.
I will.
Okay, he will.
Gotcha.
And for everyone here, I'm going to go with the pricing of $3,600 for 3 months. It's made up, but you want to kind of know, so that for yourself, what it is that you charge. So when I was a newer coach, that was my 3-month package of pricing. All right. And then we'll talk about the way you want to be talking about pricing. I do hope you come back to the next first Wednesday. We're going to be talking about money and those sorts of things there. But here's the thing with it. The thing to remember is you don't want to get lost in your client's money story. You don't want to become afraid when they say, well, that's a lot of money. You don't want to get freaked out when they say, well, now the big question, how much does it cost? Don't get too nervous about that. This is part of business. Services cost money. That's just what it is. And be listening for my key requirements that I give to each client, potential client as well. All right, sound good? Okay, it might feel a little bit rushed just because I want to be able to answer your questions at the end. So Wes, we'll do part of your questions is my guess. And then coaching community, just know that I would have gone further. I would have asked more, but we're doing a truncated version. Okay, so let's do this. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Gretchen. How are you?
Really good. It's so nice to be with you today. And I want to commend you for taking the time to answer those questions and for really going deep with what you wrote there. I feel like I know you a little bit already, and I'm excited for what we're going to uncover today.
As soon as I started answering those questions, I've been thinking about them ever since then and processing. So just writing them out is helpful.
Good. So then I'll be interested in seeing what else has come up for you since then. But let me just set the framework for this call, because you don't know what's going to happen here, and I want to just put your mind at ease. So we'll talk 30 minutes or so, see what comes up. What I'm really looking to see is there a connection here? Is there something I can help to serve you with? At the end, one of a few things is going to happen. Either we'll say, nice meeting you, and wish each other well. Or it might be that I have a resource for you based on something that we talked about. You might be inquisitive about how we could work together, or we might decide to set up a coaching session, because today we're not going to coach. We really are just going to get to know one another, and I'm going to get to hear what you could use coaching for.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds great.
Perfect. So when you reached out to me about coaching, what were you hoping for?
I'm really in a season of transition, launching a new career, and I feel like I have some fears and hesitations, and it's a big step for me. It's tapping into a lot of relational capital that I've built up for decades, because I'm stepping into being a coach full time. I'm all in, and I believe in the method of really utilizing the network I've built for a long time. And so I have some hesitations though in doing it. And as I was writing it out, I was thinking, well, I have these fears. What are the fears? And it really boils down to one thing, which is I don't want to approach my whole network and come across like I'm selling. I have some sales background, a lot of fundraising background, and I'm having a hard time not coming across that way as I process how I'm going to deal with that network. So that's kind of where I'm stuck, and I'm trying to push through that. And I was given your name.
Well, first of all, congratulations on wanting to go full in on being a coach. That's a big accomplishment and achievement. And I saw many more on that form that you filled out as well. So you are a person who is able to get to the top of whatever it is that you're going for. I do really hear this concept of, your relationship capital and not
Mhm.
wanting to sell. What do you want to do with that relationship capital?
Yeah, it comes down to serving them and being there for them in the way that a lot of them know me.
Mhm.
I have a background where I served as a pastor for a number of years, and that mentality of just thinking about what's it like to be in someone's world? Is there anyone else asking them, how are you? And listening. I want to be that person. And so I want to connect with my network. And so that they know if it's not now, whenever the time does come, I want to be the person you reach out to and you call.
Mhm.
If you lose your job, if you're having trouble with your marriage, if it's you're trying to start a new career, I want to be someone that people feel safe with and they feel comfortable coming to, that isn't going to try to sell them, but it's going to be there for them. And so I want that authenticity to come off as what it is.
So they already know you as someone that is safe and that serves, though, correct? Because you're a pastor?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have
Yeah.
two
And even the
things.
ones,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, even the ones that know me from different environments, my nature has always been, I care for people. I ask questions, and
Mhm.
so people know me. So yeah.
So many of these core pieces of who you are and the way that you want to be viewed have already shown up. So it wouldn't be so off if you connected with your relationships, these different people, to serve them, correct? It wouldn't feel like a complete disconnect.
Well, my one concern is for a lot of them, I haven't connected with in quite some time. I have
Mhm.
a rather large network. And so for some of them, it's been 10 years. For some, it's
Mhm.
been 2 years.
Mhm.
And I don't want it to be, hey, the first time I'm hearing from Wes, oh, he's coaching. He wants me to hire him. That's the fear.
Well, so what could you do to not make that your first connect?
Well, and I think that's it is I want to be able to reach out to them and actually be able to catch up with them and reconnect with them, because a lot of these people I haven't spoken with in some time. Um, but they are people that I knew in a season of my life, and they knew me well. And as I listed out all these names, there's a lot of them. And so I think for me, the big thing is I want it to be about them. I want to hear about their life. What have they been up to? What's going on in their world? And I'm trying to shift out of a mentality of always be closing to staying on track with them. And so but I have a very hard time knowing how to engage that conversation.
Wes, this is what I like to call a good problem. Here it is. You've got this great list. You have people capital. That's the truth. They already know you to be who you are. Now you are in a season of your life where the onset of you making financially independent living, isn't going to be from a company. It's going to be because you do sell something. But here's the deal with this. It's exactly what you said, you want to get out of the always be selling. Well, what if it's ABC, always be connecting and really
Yeah.
connecting with people that you already know? So those ones from 10 years ago, if it truly is connection, it will be a slow down pace. It's not the first call that you're, offering coaching or those sorts of things. It really is just
Yeah.
connecting. And PS, probably when they connect with you, they're going to learn that over the 10 years you've become a coach, which would seem completely natural from the way that they knew you.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to get to, that point. And even when I've engaged in a few people, I almost had to stop myself. And it's hard for me to break through that mentality. If that makes sense, where
The mentality of selling, or which
yeah,
mentality?
the
Mhm.
knowing that, or even, it's not even knowing that I'm selling. It's that I am viewing the conversation through what I say is their lens. I have no idea what people are actually thinking, but my insecurities come out, and what I'm thinking is they're probably thinking I'm just trying to sell them on something. They see I'm coaching now, they think I have a hidden agenda, and that's like, I despise hidden agendas. But at the same time, I know deep down, like, what I'm actually offering them is authentic. And yes, of course, we pay for coaches. I pay for coaches the same way I pay for other things that I get value out of. So that's where I'm just trying to break through that. I don't know how much of that is a result of some of my background with sales and fundraising. I burned bridges doing fundraising at one point. I burned some of my relational capital, and I'm scared of doing that again. So I'm just super cautious. But the danger with that is I feel like if I'm cautious, I can get paralyzed, and that I don't do well when I'm not able to keep moving along with it.
And what's also interesting about cautious is that there's some ambiguity when we're cautious. We're not clear either way with the person that we're talking to, and then like, why is this guy even, it's been 10 years. Yes, he's nice, but why are we talking? Instead of just why are we talking? And so for what I'm hearing from you is that we've got some fear here, that you're really dealing with. There's some repair from when you were in fundraising and you burned through that capital. Then there's the framework. How do I do it? What do I say? And feel authentic as to who you are as you're doing it. Then there's some stuff there about your own fear too, and making sure you don't get paralyzed and that you really can move forward.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm hearing all of that right. What else should I know?
I'm very decisive. I don't like when I'm stuck. I don't mind slowing down. That's different than being stuck, though. So I don't mind taking a deep breath, being thoughtful, and then moving forward with it. For me, I'm in a financial position where I don't have to make money day one. If this year is spent doing everything the right way, of course, I want to make money long term, but I care more about making sure that I approach these relationships, my network, the right way than I do about, is it going to turn into money at the end of the day? Like I obviously I want to make money doing coaching, but I just want to make sure it's clear that those relationships are more important to me on the front end here, because I don't want to burn bridges.
And it's an interesting thing too, because some of these ones that are 10 years old where you haven't talked to the people, I know we're saying that they're really important relationships, but you haven't talked to them in 10 years.
Sure.
So there's that too. And so I wonder how much of this is separating the facts from the feelings.
Yeah. 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 I wouldn't exactly know how to do that. I mean, it all kind of mushes together, because I do think one thing about people from 10 years ago is that there are a lot of people that when I was in their life, they were in my life, and we've loosely stayed connected, that they could knock on my door and it would be totally fine. Because of the nature of a lot of those relationships. They're not just business. They're through a number of everything from college through people I've worked alongside of. But yeah, I don't know how to necessarily approach it without some of that emotion with being in it, because I care about people, but that can sometimes make things foggy. So
can you say how it makes things foggy?
I think it makes me overthink my own, how I come across. And I know I'm a pretty bold person. And so, and I just want to come across without, I want to be authentic when I actually, and with who I really am and how I really feel about these people, even the ones that I haven't connected to in a long time. There's still people that I could connect to tomorrow, and that they would immediately talk to me.
So if one of them had changed careers and was going to be a coach now, and they thought of you because they knew you were a pastor, and maybe they didn't know yet that you're a coach, and they reached out in hopes that there was something that the two of you could do together, what would the right approach be for them for you to not get turned off?
In terms of that,
let's flip it. That one of those people that you're on their list. Let's flip it. You're on their list. They're the coach. You're the pastor, or whatever else, whatever other careers you've had.
Sure. Yeah, and this might be it, is that I am very suspicious of hidden agendas.
Mhm.
And so I would immediately, I mean, it's direct, it's a New York culture thing.
Mhm.
Like, I want to know exactly what's going on. Hey, I don't mind you reach out, love to connect. What's up? And I would immediately want to know what's going on. Like, I just tell me up front.
So,
And so that's kind of my personality. And I don't, yeah,
but maybe that's the approach.
yeah,
I wonder, there's no hidden agenda with that. And if the person writes back, listen, I'm a coach. I thought of you right away because I knew you during this, we knew each
Yeah.
other during this time of our lives. You've
Yeah.
always been someone who, and it's a true thing, not just a generic,
Yep. Course.
the adjective that you're going to use for everyone you reach out to, but like, I thought of you right away
Yeah.
because you were this, this, and this. And I really want to hear what you're up to. And
Yeah.
I want to reconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the direct approach is a lot better for me,
Okay.
I think, because I even just saying that, I'm like, okay, well, that is authentic in itself, even though it's kind
Totally
of with the
authentic.
Band-Aid. Yeah, I'm just playing, and even just playing it in my head through a few of the people I've written down. I think that would probably, I'm processing it out loud, because one of the things that, in terms of my relational capital in these people, is that they know me as someone they all went to at one point in their life.
And
They've
that's
all
where it
come to
almost makes
me. Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And
So
if you
these,
even framed it up that way, that,
yeah,
however you would want to say it to them, like, we really knew each other. We talked about some deep stuff. I just wanted to let you know, I turned it into a career.
yeah, that's really good.
I turned it into a career. They already
Yeah.
know you this way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, I thought of two guys this morning. They both are working in New York. We both grew up in the same area, except I was about 6 years older than them, and I mentored both of them when I was in college. They were in
There you
high
go.
school,
Yeah.
and these guys would have walked through walls for me. And we've always kept in touch, you know, loosely, but we've always kept in touch. But yeah, it would be very easy just to be that direct and to say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Because it would make sense to them. They'd be like, well, of course you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And they might even think like, why didn't you reach out to me sooner about this?
Yeah. They probably definitely one of them would.
Okay, so
Um,
what's shifting for you? You know, you came, you said that what you really
Yeah.
wanted from coaching, your framework, we need some repair with what happened with fundraising. There's some fear. How do I reach out? What have you heard yourself say?
Yeah, I think it's just the direct approach is going to feel a lot more natural and authentic for me.
Mhm.
I know that I really want to connect with people. And of course, the direct approach is still going to involve, I want to hear about what's going on in your life, but
Yeah.
I don't want the coaching thing hidden in the background for me to later land. It's like, I don't actually mind for people that know me in that type of way. Hey, it's not going to be surprising to any of the people I'm reaching out to that this is what I'm doing.
Right.
So
It's not like you're reaching out to them and saying, I need you to buy solar panels,
yeah,
right? You know, that you're that guy who it's solar panels one week and it's life insurance the next week, and then it's your ashes the following week, whatever. That's not what's happening here. This is really a piece
Yeah.
of who you are and how they already know you. My gut is saying it's probably going to be natural instinct that they're like, yeah, that only makes sense that you would do that.
yeah. Well, I'm even just visualizing it, just saying, hey, this is what I'm up to and doing. I'd love to connect because I thought of you. And then if it's not even talked about, I'm fine with that. But it almost sounds like if I just put it out there in the front, hey,
That's
this
it.
is what I'm up to. Let's just name it. And that's especially for like for the New York culture, which a lot of these people through my network there, even where I live, it's just a lot of fast pace. Let me just hear it. It's the Tom
Bottom
Brady
line
retirement
thinking.
this morning. Yeah. Hey, let me get to it. I'm retiring. Like that's how. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great way of pushing past the awkwardness. And then I can just push that out of the way and say, well, let's talk about what you've been up to. Now, I'm coaching now, and I thought of you here. Let's hear what you've been up to. And I'm
There you
sure
go.
people would be much more open to sharing with that.
So I'm hearing that you really just supported yourself in your own answer with this one. I know that there's still some other work that have to be done, and then there's the practice and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I've asked you a ton of questions. I'm going to turn it to you now. You know, what questions do you have for me?
Yeah, I've paid for consultants in the past. I've done
Mhm.
counselors in the past. Coaching seems to be a little different. Reminds me of cognitive behavioral therapy,
Little
outcome
bit.
oriented, focused in that sense. Like, but I'm not quite sure with how it works in terms of, is it hourly? Is it a season? What does it look like in terms of hiring a coach? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, that's, you know what, that's a really interesting question. So coaching typically is for a season. I've had clients that have worked with me for 3 months. I've had clients work with me for 3 years. It really just depends. And the way to think about it is that bottom line culture, the people who, just give it to me straight, it's to help them get from where they are now to where they want to go faster than they would have by themselves.
Okay.
And for me, every coach works differently. I never work by the hour. I know that coaching really works session by session. And so when we agree to a certain amount of time for whatever it is that we feel is the most important that you want to work on and bring to the surface, that's what we're going to be doing session after session, week after week, month after month, so that you can see the results. Where coaching is really different than some of the other forms of, healing and those sorts of things that are out there, is
Yeah.
that we have a container. We know how long we're doing this. And then sometimes people like to re-up because they're not quite done or they've really enjoyed that kind of support. But that's typically how it goes with most coaches that I know, that we create a container that we both agree on and we go from there.
So what's that look like in terms of meet, like how often you meet, accessibility to you, and what it costs? I don't know if it's per session, if it's over
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So great question. With you, what I would say is, today we were just getting to know each other to see if it's a good fit. It's really clear that we've got good synergy here and that there's a lot that you are talking about that I think coaching could really serve you with. What I'd like to do is coach you. I gift you a coaching session. Let's coach. Then from there, I can make my highest recommendation about what it is that you need. And you also will
Yeah.
have had the effects of my coaching, and we can see, like, did it work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
And then,
sounds good.
and then typically though, just as far as like how does it work? Most of the time I work with people for 6 months to a year. I never know,
Okay.
again, until we're in it, until you and I have coached, so that I can just see what's really on the table. And then it's usually every other week.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, almost always, because you need time to practice the things in between. Like if we were coaching, I'd ask you, who you're going to go and reach out to, and what do you want to commit to between now and our next session. And the other thing with coaching that's different is there's always going to be a format, that it's like, what do you want from this session? How will you know you got it? And what does a win look like? So coaching's very targeted to something specific. Today, we just uncovered you want some framework. We need to do some healing work around, what happened when it came to the fundraising, and we need to take a look at the fear. Plus, hey, PS, let's work on building your business. So there's a lot of different things that are there, some self-esteem, different pieces. And my guess is too, ways of your being. It's not just about your goals. Goals are great, but there's always the soul line, the who you're being, and the goal line, and where they intersect. And that's what I like to really help people with.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. What other questions do you have, if any?
I don't think anything specific now, but
Okay.
yeah, if we could do a coaching session,
Yeah. Let's do
I
that.
mean, how
Full
long are
length.
they typically?
Hour. So we'd
Okay.
coach for an hour. We'd schedule for like an hour and a half, so that at the end we can talk about, any questions that
Okay.
you have working together and those sorts of things. I like to give you
Yeah.
a lot of space in that session and to really see what coaching is. It's not something that can be described. You really have to feel it. And for every person, it's different.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Okay. So Wes, we'll end it there. I'm just going to put a
Yeah.
bow on that. How was that for you?
It was good. I mean, obviously I know what coaching is, but I wanted in
Yeah, no,
theory
thank you.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that
But
was great.
because I think that would be my natural how I'd ask. I think for me, and I'm curious how this is, like, unpacking, especially with a new, so we've never really talked through some of this before.
Right.
Like, me, but we've never, so like unpacking some things, as I'm doing that, I'm just seeing a lot of things come to the surface, which is what's interesting. And I think when you give me space, it's awkward for me, but it's probably, it's really necessary, because had you jumped in, I would not have been able to process a few things that were probably pretty important. So I think that was something that was actually helpful.
Good.
It pushed me in the moment, because I'm thinking, oh, she's not saying anything. Okay.
I guess that, well, and the human condition is one that we feel obligated to fill the space. So the client will always fill the space. And it's typically the third thing that the client says that is really what's bothering them. And so for you, you know, we got to the fear, we got to the framework, but also this part that you don't want to be a phony. You don't want to be a phony. You really like direct. And that's why I asked you that question. Okay, flip it. One of your friends from 10 years ago comes to you. What would you want? And that's where you got really quiet. It was like, oh, and you got your answer with direct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had not thought about it like that.
Good, good. Okay. Anything else that you want to say before we open this back
I
up?
think that's it. I'm good.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Okay. So coaches, here's what would happen next. Let's say that he was very adamant on knowing the price. Okay. Because some people can't relax until they know how much money it is. They cannot listen. They can't relax. Most of the time, I will say it goes the way it went with Wes, that you could see he was activated. All I did is ask him a bunch of questions, feed it back to him, but we didn't have a topic, outcome, or measurement. I was getting to know him. I was seeing him. I excited about working with him. Very much enjoyed his personality. He's clearly a go-getter. He's direct. He's able to process. And I loved what he said at the beginning about writing down the answers to those questions gave me clarity. And I've been thinking about it ever since. That shows you he's someone that's already processing, you know, and this small connection call, he's going to be processing so much more. My guess is he will go and take some actions around it. There will be something there that he will then bring to our scheduled session. But let's say you get a potential client and they can't let go of the money. When they say, how much is it? You know, first you want to offer them the session if you're excited to work with them. All right. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you would like that. And then if they still say, how much is it? What you want to say is you'd say, you know, my highest recommendation is, and you can tell them, I'm not sure if this is going to be what it is or not, but a lot of times when I'm working with people, my highest recommendation is we work together for, let's just say 3 months. We work together for 90 days. It's $3,600, but here's the deal. Coaching isn't for everyone. I have some requirements. And this is where you want to run them through the requirements. The first one being that you're ready for coaching, because if we coach together, your life is going to change. Things are going to be different. I don't know if this is a good time in your life for things to be different. And that's really true. That's not even one of those weird sales things. Sometimes it's a terrible time for someone's life to be different. They cannot balance it. Different would be a disaster, or they're not mentally there, or there's too many things pulling at them. So I want to check their readiness. The next one is I say, you know, and we really need to know about your commitment, because to get coach, you have to be 100% committed, not just to the financial commitment, but to the time that you're going to put in and to the things that you're going to do outside of coaching to make sure that this investment is worth it. And this is where they say things like, I was born committed, I was born ready, those sorts of things. Then from there, I say the third one is, I want to coach you first. Today, we were just connecting to see, how does this feel synergistically? Does it feel like a good fit? Are we wanting to, you know, go further? It's kind of like, are we taking it from coffee to drinks? What are we doing here? And so that's what you're seeing. And then you invite them to coaching. Next time you see them, you're going to coach. You want to prep them with what's the one thing that would make all the difference in your world if we could move the needle on it. Let them bring something like that. And with Wes, what I would do too, if we were going to have that coaching session, is I'd ask him, okay, Wes, so between now and when we coach, from what we talked about today, what would you like to take action on? Because I want to see if he's an action taker. And he'd tell me, you know what, I'm actually going to email these 3 people that I was thinking about today, and I'm going to let you know what happens. I would start then our next session with how'd those emails go, and then find out what he wanted to be coached on. Then I will coach him. Then I save time at the end, and that's where we talk. You know, then he's really going to ask, I'm going to make a highest recommendation. I'll have some ideas in mind for him already, because my mind in between the connection call and the coaching session is also going to be working on how can I serve Wes? What would be exciting for this direct personality? What does he need? What's his big vision? Where does he get stuck? And I'd be thinking about that. So that's what a connection call might sound like and might look like. So I'm going to pause there and I'll open it up for questions for you. What did you see here? What are you wondering?
Well, Gretchen, I'll go.
Good to see you. I'm glad you came, Alan.
I am too. I gotta say that even though you prefaced the session by saying that this is not coaching,
Huh?
throughout the session, I was appreciating some of the coaching questions that were in there.
Yeah.
So what I thought about immediately is it gives, even though Wes wasn't necessarily looking for that, it gave Wes a sneak peek into your style of coaching, right?
That's it. And you know what I'll say about that too is when I say it's not coaching, it's not the ICF approved coaching with our topic, outcome, and measurement.
Right.
What are you going to commit to? But we are using the other coaching skills, powerful questions, active listening,
Right.
making the stories all come together. All of that is there without the burden of the rest of it that we have to do in an actual coaching session.
Right. Yeah. And that was very clear and it was good to see.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
What else? Questions, comments?
Hello, Oliver.
Hi, Oliver.
Hey, Gretchen, I thought that was great. And just like Alan, I thought that you did a great coaching job. I mean, you came out with solutions that he made him think. I was kind of confused because I thought this is a connection call, but actually there was a lot of coaching there, and I love it. And it's a good thing that I saw it because I have had a few calls and I stayed away from it mistakenly, I think. So I think that you have to give a little bit to the client so he knows what's in it for him. And I think you did a great job there.
Yeah,
I mean, I
good.
saw a lot of answers. Yeah.
And so let me say this too, you know, when everyone goes to coaching school and you've all been to different coaching schools and your instructor teaches you pieces of what you do in coaching, you're taking all of the coaching skills into the connection call. That is how we connect. We just don't have to put the framework on it. And so I did ask him about all of those prelim questions. He answered every single one through the coaching questions that I was asking. It just wasn't as boring as, what do you want in the next 3 to 6 months? I already know. He wrote it down. We talked about it. So this call should be very conversational. You want to connect. It shouldn't be script oriented because someone can tell when you're not connecting here. And you really do want to do the deepest listening that you can. Yeah, good notice there, Oliver. Anyone else have a question?
I have a question.
Yeah, hi, Rebecca.
Hi. I'm curious how you, before you even get to the 30-minute call, how you frame it to the client. Just noticing like a lot of suggestions are like gifting the 60 minutes beforehand or gifting like the coaching session ahead of time or offering a gift of a session to get them into the room. So how do you, I guess, I'm trying to transition.
Really good. So I love this question because it is confusing, right? We gift these sessions, but okay, they get there and then they're super confused. Even in a gifted session, I do this first. So what I'll tell the client is, oh, I'm so glad that, you know, you're going to use this gift from whoever gifted it, or if I gifted it to them. What I like to do first is have a connection call with you so we can get to know one another and so that I can run you through what that call is going to be like. That way they're not confused and they can ask their questions. And then I do the same thing. Here's some prelim questions first, answer these for the connection call, and then I'll run you through what we're going to be doing in the coaching call. Helpful? Good.
Gretchen, I have another question.
Yes,
Is
Susan.
there any difference in the way that you handle a virtual connection call versus a live connection conversation?
Meaning in person?
Yeah.
No, not really. You know, with that, I'm thinking back, it feels like a long time now, pre-COVID, to when I did have an office. It was the same thing. Actually, for the connection call, I didn't do it live. I never did those live. I always did those in Zoom before I was going to invite a person to meet me personally. I wanted to make sure I felt safe. Because what if they're a weirdo? Sorry, but really, like, what if I'm a woman? What if they're a weirdo? I mean, I have pepper spray, but still, like, what if, you know, and this is the other thing, coaches, you want to make sure that in your body, in your physical body, you feel like it's a go. If your body is giving you a clue that there's something that's off, pass. You just never offer that. You kind of, it was like, Wes, it was so nice talking to you today. Take these things that we talked about, try them out and see how that goes. Look forward to hearing from you again and get off the phone. You do not need to offer anything else up. Yeah, good question though, Susan. Are you going to be seeing people in person for connection?
Well, fortunately, I just had a connection call today and we're following it up with an in-person lunch, much to my surprise.
Okay. So nice. You know, so here's one thing that I will say about some of that. The person to person can be really lovely getting together with people. But remember this, when we do a lunch or we do something that feels social, they're going to want to get to know something about you and it can take you out of the coaching frame. You know, so that's just something to notice when you're at this lunch for any of us. Anything that you want to do with a potential client or client is, remember, we're the coaches, we're professional, that your potential clients don't really need to know that many things about you personally. And it's not a rule. They don't have to not know anything. We have different guidelines than a therapist, but it tends to work better that way. Other comments and questions?
Right here.
Hi, Mark.
Spot on.
You had a connection call tonight.
Actually, I got ghosted, but that's okay.
Okay.
Although I had a connection call earlier in the day that was a session section, so I have a new client.
Oh, congratulations.
But it took a bit of negotiation. But it's fine. You know, they wanted, try out the coaching, but I had to laugh. Right after that, I got a text from someone who wanted information on coaching. So we did a FaceTime call. I like to do calls first.
Yeah.
Because this one was he was confused whether he really wanted a coach or a therapist. And there were some unusual reasons, and he's in family court. And I'm like, maybe that's one of those people that, as you talked about, you might want to walk away from because it's not the right client for you.
Or the right time. Maybe this gentleman comes back in a year, he's out of family court, things feel better, and he's in a more stable place for himself to be able to move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. But good for you. You're really gaining some momentum. That's 3 all in a day. Yeah.
And then I had a sales pitch given to me today, but that's okay. You get that all the time, but you always listen.
Fantastic. Yeah, but good, Mark. Okay, any burning desires here? Any other questions or comments? Something that you saw that you're wondering about?
I have a question.
Yeah, Lily.
So we're setting the preliminary questions. We're moving over to the connection call. During the connection call, then are you setting up the next coaching session right there and then?
Yes. Most of the time. Now, if it gets too cumbersome with calendars and this and that, it's going to take 20 minutes because sometimes scheduling does. I will instead say, I'm going to send you some available times. I prefer to just do it then if it's easy, but calendaring is not always easy. So you'll try. And then if it keeps going back and forth, you'll say, let me send you my availability.
Okay, because that's where I'm stuck. I think once they come back for the coaching call, it's taking a little longer for them to respond. So do I remind them?
Okay, so you've done the connection call. You've done what I just did. And have they wanted more? Have you offered up that, hey, next step would be let me coach you so that you can see how coaching actually feels?
Correct.
Okay.
So
and
I didn't set a time there and then during the connection call. I set my schedule and we're just going back and forth. So do I move on or do I follow up?
You're going back and forth because they're sending you times that don't work for you or because they're ghosting you?
I have one of each actually.
Okay, for the ghosting you one, what you're going to do is you're going to send a reference, like something that you guys talked about, and you're going to say, Gretchen, it was so nice talking to you the other day. here's the 3 times I have available for next week. If they don't say yes, if they don't say anything, the next week you're going to write them an email that says, Gretchen, I'm going to take this off the table for now. Let's close the loop on it so that you can open up your headspace. When you're ready for coaching, you're going to let me know. And you close the loop and then they email you usually right away. Oh, no, don't take it off the table. Or they don't. And either way is okay. For the other one that you're going back and forth, you can tell them this is my schedule, or you can get an online scheduling system where you put in your times and then they can just go and check it and pick the one that works for them. And we can talk more about that. Good. All right. I'd love to hear some takeaways. What did you get tonight that you are going to go out and practice and take action on?
A lot of it. Yeah, I thought the whole flow of it, just from the way you organized it, with being really clear up front that it's about connecting and asking questions, felt so much more comfortable than this jumping into coaching right off the bat before you even know this person. So I love the whole structure of the 1, 2, 3. I think that just feels much more, I guess, professional.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
they know, because they're very confused.
Yes.
otherwise. Yeah.
Yes,
And they
yeah,
know.
because people don't know. They'll come into it just clueless. And this way, I think you kept him really up to date throughout the whole session. It was really nice. Thank you.
Good, good. Who else? What are you going to try out?
Well, for me, it was more about recognizing slowing down in the process
Yeah.
and doing that throughout the whole process.
Good. Good. Hey, Honor, can I put you on the spot? I know how much you love this, so thank you. So Honor was in Stairway to 6 a year ago. Tell us your journey since then in 60 seconds. She's not prepared either.
Yeah, so ultimately I'm going to be totally transparent. I did not do everything that Gretchen said as she said to do it. And I came out of there going, that was really awesome, and nothing, right? No results. And that was completely on me, and I knew it the entire time. And since then, I've really gone back and like, oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that. And once I started to do it, literally everything just opened up. And so I think it was amazing. I learned a tremendous amount. And, at the time, maybe it was a timing thing, right? At that time, I was all about, oh, I can figure this out on my own, right, Gretchen? I can do everything myself. And, I'm so smart and, which I am, but my hyperachiever took over. And I realized like, okay, if I slow down, implement the things and don't try to get them perfect, but just do it messy, even if I don't think I'm 100% ready, it's going to be amazing. And it is. So if you're going through it, or if you're thinking about going through it or anything else, I would say, be comfortable being messy. Don't think you have to be perfect before you take the action, because you're never going to be perfect. And it's a whole lot more fun when you can get your hands dirty.
That's it. So good to see you, Honor.
That was really good to hear.
Well, I think it's nice when there's a group of coaches too, and all of you are, some of you are in a program, some of you are in the community, some of you have done the program and are in the community. I love when coaches come back and kind of share like, hey, I did it and I didn't do it during the thing. I did it after the thing. And this is what happened for me. And many times people take programs more than once. The first time it's for information and it's information overload. And the second time it's for transformation to really do the thing because you're not as overwhelmed. So there's that. Coaches, always so good to see you. Happy February. I'm wearing a big heart because I love you. See my heart? Yeah. So I'm wearing a heart because I love you. And I hope you have a great February. If you need anything, reach out, tag me in the Coaching for Coaches community, reach out to one another, and I will be seeing you all soon. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.